Hey everyone, welcome to Therapy on Two Wheels. Today I'll be talking about 7 tips for beginner motorcyclists after passing the Motorcycle Safety Foundation course. It has been a little over a year since I passed the MSF course here in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I was thinking about the most important things I would tell a new rider that is just getting started riding a motorcycle on the road. Now feel free to leave any suggestions in the comment section with some of your top tips for beginner riders as well. Let's get started. Tip number 1. Start with a smaller engine. There are a lot of new riders who pass their MSF course and immediately go out and buy a 1000cc sport bike with nearly 200 horsepower. Yes, they are very fast and very fun to ride, but not as your first bike after the safety course. If you are looking to purchase your first bike, look in the sub 500cc range to start. You may grow out of it quickly, but you will enjoy the time you spend learning on a smaller engine bike way more than a heavy, powerful bike. With a 250 to 300cc motorcycle, you can wring out the throttle all day and have plenty of fun learning to ride on the road. You're much less likely to spin out the back wheel at a stoplight or drop the bike when making sharp turns, and since they are generally lighter than bigger engine bikes, they're easier to maneuver as well. Starting on a bike with lots of weight and power is just asking for trouble. Powerful bikes are much less forgiving if you make a mistake. I still remember the first time I took my 250cc engine bike out and cranked it up to about 45 miles per hour to keep up with traffic. It felt like I was flying through space and time compared to the 20 mile per hour top speed during the MSF course. Start small and work your way up to bigger engines as your comfort level increases. Tip number 2. Start with short rides. During the MSF course, you were basically going in circles in a parking lot and limited to second gear at around 20 miles per hour. When you finally purchase your first bike and are ready to take it out on the open road, start with short distances and work your way up. Don't set off on a 500-mile ride your first week after the MSF course. Start by just riding around your neighborhood and practice the skills you learned during the course. The first week after the MSF course, I just rode around my area keeping the bike under 25 miles per hour. It was a new bike with different ergonomics compared to the MSF course bike, so I wanted to make sure I was able to shift, brake, and hit all of the correct switches on my handlebars without needing to actually look at them. Just like most activities in life, it will take a little while before riding a motorcycle feels like an instinct, and you don't have to think about every minute detail when you upshift, downshift, or brake. After your neighborhood starts to feel comfortable, now venture out onto some higher speed roads in the 35 to 50 mile per hour range. Don't go right for the 70 mile per hour highway rides after your neighborhood unless you like the feeling of terror. Just like with engine size and tip number 1, work your way up in both speed and distance at a pace that is comfortable for you. It took me about a month of gradually increasing my speed before I even attempted to ride on a 70 mile per hour highway. Objects in the road come at you way faster at 70 miles per hour than they do at 20 miles per hour. Just wait until you hit your first pothole on the highway going 70 miles per hour. Definitely not the same feeling when you hit one going 20. Tip number 3. Plan your ride and use voice navigation. If I could only suggest one piece of technology to purchase to enhance your ride, it would be a Bluetooth communication system like Cardo. I use the Cardo Freecom 4 Plus on my rides, and it has been one of the best purchases I have made since I started riding. Before any of my rides, I choose my destination and plan out every leg of my trip. Knowing generally how long you will be riding, when you will need to stop to fill up for gas or a bathroom break, and where there are some fun twisty roads will all make your motorcycle trip more enjoyable with less stress. Having a Bluetooth communication system that pairs to your phone's navigation applications makes it so that you don't even have to look at your phone for directions. Instead, you can just focus on the road and the turn-by-turn navigation will be fed directly into your headset in your helmet. Tip number 4. Get a full set of gear. I can't tell you how often I see people riding around in Vegas during the summer months with nothing but a t-shirt, shorts, and athletic shoes. I'm guessing that none of these individuals have ever fallen on concrete or asphalt in their life. It hurts tremendously when you are running, trip, then grab a handful of asphalt. Even when you're going 20 miles per hour and you fall, you can easily scrape a large chunk of your skin off and will now enjoy the pleasant experience of showering with burns and scrapes all over your body. Just imagine what happens to your skin when you fall off on the highway going 70 miles per hour. By the time your body stops moving and scraping along the rough road surface, there won't be much skin left. I have always lived by the term ATGAT, or all the gear, all the time. Yes, it can definitely be uncomfortable to ride around in city traffic in Las Vegas in the summer months with full gear on, but I'd rather sweat than bleed. There are lots of different types of gear you can purchase for all types of weather, including 100+ degree summer days. You do lose some protection with mesh gear, but most come with armor built into the most vulnerable spots. I would suggest no less than a helmet, riding jacket with armor, riding pants or jeans with armor, gloves, and ankle-high motorcycle boots. You can start out with a cheaper set when you first start riding if you don't have thousands of dollars to spend on gear. I purchased my first complete set of gear for around $800, which consisted of mostly average price gear. Tip number 5. Don't ride at night or in bad weather. I've only ridden at night a couple of times since I started riding, simply because I don't need to ride at night. Motorcycling for me is a hobby that I enjoy in my free time. If you commute to and from work on your motorcycle, it may not be possible to avoid riding at night, but if you can, I would suggest waiting at least a full year before you ride when it is dark out. Your visibility, as well as the visibility of other drivers on the road, is significantly reduced during the night or early morning. When you first start riding, there are so many things going through your head all at once. Thinking about shifting, what gear you're in, looking out for road hazards and other vehicles on the road. When you ride in the dark, there is a very small portion of the road and your surroundings that you can see, which can be overwhelming when you already have a lot going through your head. Even during the day, riding in bad weather can be frightening. If you are planning your ride as much as possible, you will likely be able to avoid bad weather just by looking up the weather reports before you go out. This will mitigate most of the potential hazards, but the weather can change rapidly and you can find yourself in a very uncomfortable situation. I've ridden through heavy rain, sandstorms, and constant 30-mile-per-hour winds. With rain, you have low visibility and a slick road surface. With sandstorms, you have extremely low visibility and a natural breathing hazard unless you have a helmet that's somehow airtight. With wind, you are likely to be blown around all over the road with big gusts of wind hitting you from every direction with little to no warning. When you're riding along a 2-lane highway with lots of semis going 70 miles per hour being thrashed around on the road, it can be a very scary feeling. Avoid times of the day with low visibility, and if possible, don't go out unless the weather is optimal for riding a motorcycle. Tip number 6. Don't ride with a passenger. If you were just starting to ride a motorcycle, you were likely still getting the feeling down for properly accelerating, braking, turning, and stopping. All of these maneuvers are much more difficult when you have a passenger sitting on the back of your bike. Every aspect of your ride changes. It takes longer to accelerate and pass another vehicle on the highway, your stopping distance significantly increases, and turning at slow speeds may feel like the bike is about to tip over much sooner than you anticipated. If your passenger is not used to being on the back of a motorcycle, they may not understand how to help you keep better control of the bike while they are riding with you. If they are moving around or leaning the opposite direction when you are trying to make a turn, it can make balancing the bike extremely difficult compared to riding on your own. Once you become confident with your skills on the bike you are riding, and you've been in many different terrains and situations, then and only then should you consider adding a passenger. When you get a new bike, take some time to get familiar with the bike and how it feels in different situations before you have a passenger hop on the back. Remember, you are ultimately responsible for the life you have on the back of your bike. Don't take on that responsibility until you are ready for it. Tip number 7. Regularly practice your MSF course skills. When I first started riding, I would spend at least one day each week dedicated to practicing the skills I learned at the MSF course. If the MSF course location is close enough to your home, when they are not conducting a class, they usually don't mind if you use the course layout to practice. You can also grab a cheap set of cones and find an empty parking lot in your area to set up the drills and practice them over and over. Everything that is taught to you in the MSF course will be used while riding on the road. All of those U-turns, swerves, and emergency braking you practice will come in handy when you end up needing them. You want them to become second nature and be a reaction rather than having to take an extra second to think about executing the action. An extra second of braking distance could be the difference between you stopping safely behind a vehicle or plowing into the back of it. Even to this day, I still regularly go out and practice the skills I learned at the MSF course and plan to continue taking courses in the future to improve my skills as a rider. Whether you have been riding for years off-road and are now looking to hit the streets, or this is your first experience on any type of motorcycle, following the advice of seasoned riders can be invaluable as you move through your motorcycling journey. As always, everyone, enjoy life and ride safe.